First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 4th chapter. Slack here. So as it reads, better is it to have no children. Yeah, just trying to get this thing on here. All right. Better is it to have no children and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal. Why? Because those that, like, once again, like we read in the 3rd chapter, right, they may be barren, but they may be virtuous, right? They may have the traits of a godly individual. Those things are remembered, right? The memorial thereof is immortal because it is known with God and with men. And when you look in ancient times, those in I think in this book, it also goes into that, right, in Wisdom of Solomon. But they're those that are remembered even till this day, right, because they had that virtue. And let's actually go into that word virtue. Look at what we got on that. Yeah, behavior showing high moral standards. And let's also look at it in the online etymology. There you go. Okay, let's look at the word virtue. So it says here, moral life and conduct, uprightness of life, the opposite of vice, a particular more excellence, right? Force, strength, vigor, moral strength, qualities, abilities. Okay. And so with that in mind, when you go back, you see how it says, because it is known with God and with men, those that are virtuous are recognized both in the heavens and on earth. And to this day, you have people that were known even above some of the virtuous men and women of old in their generations, right? You had celebrities, certain stars, certain kings that were known at that time. But you know whose memorial stood through the test of time are these. That's why we still hear and speak about them today. Meanwhile, you can have some of the greatest chariot horse racers and people that were lauded back then, and nobody even knows they existed today. When it is present, men take example at it, that is virtue. And when it is gone, they desire it. See, when virtue is present, men look at that, and as it says, they take example at it. They learn from it, or from those that have it. And when it is gone, they desire it. It weareth a crown and triumpheth forever, having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards. And this is mainly the those that have virtue, right? Virtue is glorified, like the scriptures say, wisdom is justified of her children. Virtue is glorified by those that express it. So that's how it wears a crown and triumphs forever, because all they that have and display virtue are brought to the victory, you could say, right? Having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards, which comes by way of that. What do we read virtue to be? Behavior showing high moral standards. And what are those standards? The standards that the Lord has given us. By the multiplying of brood, it's like the multiplying brood, which is the offspring of the ungodly, but the multiplying brood of the ungodly shall not thrive, nor take deep root from bastard slips, which are likened unto plants, nor lay any fast foundation. See, so on the one hand, the virtuous have a memorial that is immortal, but the multiplying, children of the ungodly is not going to thrive, right? They're not going to, well, there's no other better way to say it, right? They're not going to thrive, nor take deep root. So when you liken them here to being slips or plants, they're not going to take deep root. And if a plant doesn't take deep root, it can be uprooted, So it's not going to last because it's not built on a sure foundation, nor lay any fast foundation. The word fast is firm. And if you don't have a strong or firm foundation, then you're not going to be able to stand. Maybe for a while, but that's temporary. So really the dwelling of the ungodly is transient. Verse 4, for though they flourish in branches for a time, see, like a tree may have, it may flourish in branches, it may grow certain branches on it for a period of time, yet standing not last, they shall be shaken with the wind. See, so basically not for long. Eventually, when wind or destruction or adversity or judgment comes in the form of a wind here, they're not going to be able to stand. They're going to be shaken with it. And through the force of winds, they shall be rooted out. And the force of winds represents the judgment of the Lord. So the multiplying children of the ungodly are going to perish, right? The lineage of the ungodly is not going to last forever. Verse 5, the imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat, yea, meat for nothing. And the imperfect branches are the brood, right? The offspring of the ungodly, and they're going to be broken off. Their fruit, meaning the fruit that comes of the tree of the ungodly, is not ripe to eat. And that's why in the previous chapter it mentions they are unfruitful. Yea, meat for nothing. It's like a tree that bears rotten apples. For children begotten of unlawful beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents in their trial. See, and children begotten of unlawful beds are children had out of wedlock, an adulterous relationship that brings forth a child. Today, for example, when it says it's a witness of wickedness against their parents, today, for example, people go on certain TV shows or they'll go and get a DNA test, right? And then they'll say, oh, you are not the father. If once they hear that you are not the father, what is that? That is basically saying that the child that came from an adulterous relationship because your wife had an affair bears witness to the wickedness of that woman, right? Of the parent of the child, because it shows forth that this child was not had by, you say, through a lawful marriage. And then when you find out who it was, right, who the child's father actually is, that is bearing witness to say these two committed adultery. But though the righteous be prevented with death, yet shall he be in rest. And the prevented, when you go into the Old English, preventeth is like to go ahead of, right? So the righteous might be prevented with death, meaning they may die prematurely, but he shall be in rest. For honorable age is not that which standeth in length of time, nor that is measured by number of years. See, so to be honorable is not determined by how long you've lived on the earth, nor how many years you've lived, because you can have a 90-year-old wicked person that has lived a very dishonorable life, and you can have a 20 or 30-year-old honorable person who died young, but they lived an honorable life. So that honor is not based in how long they have lived. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men. And gray hair is reverenced because of it shows experience, right? And usually you would expect them to be to have knowledge. But here, wisdom is likened onto that glory, right? The glory of the gray hair of men, which is the respect they earn for their age. Wisdom gives the equivalent onto men or onto those that have it. And an unspotted life is old age. See, so living an unspotted or righteous life is likened onto the respect that you would get if you lived to a long period of time, right? Because once again, they say respect your elders, right, because of their age. And so here it's sort of likening that glory to those that may die young, but they live a righteous life. They're also used as a good example. Verse 10, he pleased God and was beloved of him, so that living among sinners, he was translated. right, which is talking about referencing Enoch from the beginning. And the scriptures tell you that Enoch was translated, right? So what that means is he didn't die in the conventional means, right? He was taken up, and his body was changed, right, as he went into the spirit world. Yea, speedily he was taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit beguile his soul. See, so he was taken away quickly so that he wouldn't be tainted with the wicked influence of those that were around. That is, that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit should beguile or taint his soul, which was pure. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest. Okay. And bewitching, if you bewitch somebody, you're basically like putting them under a spell, right? Or you're deceiving them. So bewitching of naughtiness, which is wickedness, is to bring somebody under the the spell of wickedness, right? Through deception, like lead somebody astray into wickedness. And as it says, it doth obscure things that are honest. So it perverts the honest things. And this is like the a true saying, but it explains why it says he was speedily taken away from them. It says, and the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind. And the wandering of concupiscence is likened unto uncontrolled desires, because that's what this concupiscence is, right? It's like that uncontrolled lust or desires. So the wandering of it, or the spreading of it, doth undermine the simple mind, right? It is confusing, right, and can corrupt a simple mind. So being mindful of that, the Lord took him speedily away, lest he should be corrupted. He, being made perfect in a short time, fulfilled a long time. So he didn't have to live, 700 years, right? Or in our time, 90 years to be made perfect, or to live a righteous life. But in a short time, right, he lived that. And this also starts to go into the general speaking of one who may die young but righteous, versus, or compared to those that may live a long time but may live a wicked life, or maybe a life that is not as righteous. Verse 14, for his soul pleased the Lord, therefore hasted he to take him away from among the wicked. This the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he hath respect unto his chosen. See, so they didn't consider this to be, the case, that yes, you may have somebody that dies young, but they may live a righteous life, and the Lord taking them away is grace, because sometimes he doesn't want them to be tainted by those that are around them. Okay. It says here, verse 16, thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living. See, so you may be living, but you're ungodly, and the deeds of the righteous who is dead will condemn you. Such and such, they only live to be 25 years. You're 60 years, and look at the life you're living in wickedness. And they only live 25 years, and look at all the righteous things that they did. And youth that is soon perfected, the many years, and old age. So I can read that again. It says, and youth that is soon perfected, the many years, and old age of the unrighteous. Right. So the youth that is soon perfected would condemn the many years and old age of the unrighteous. Similar concept to the first part of it, right? Once again, you say, how is it that you have been living for so long, and yet look at this unrighteous mindset and lifestyle you live, and yet you had one that lived for so short a period of time, and they did this, that, and the third. For their righteousness will condemn, right, the wickedness of those that had lived past them. Verse 17, for they shall see the end of the wise, and shall not understand what God in his counsel hath decreed of him. So they may see the death of the wise, or the death of the righteous, but they won't understand why, or what the Most High's plan concerning him actually was, and to what end the Lord hath set him in safety. So they don't understand that this is really beneficial to whoever it is the Lord took out. Because people often see death as bad in whatever way it comes to you. But there are times when the Lord brings death, but it's not for the as a punishment, all right, always of whoever it is that's dying. Verse 18. They shall see him and despise him, but God shall laugh them to scorn. So they may despise the young righteous man, but the Lord is going to laugh them to scorn because they don't understand. And they shall hereafter be a vile carcass. That's how they're going to end up, right? They're going to end up dead, and a reproach among the dead forever, right? So this is the ungodly, those that laugh at the righteous. The Lord is going to laugh at them because they don't even know what their end is going to be. They may be looking and despising the righteous, one that may have died young but righteous, but they don't even realize that they're going to die a horrible death, and they're not even going to get a proper burial. Verse 19, for he shall rend them and cast them down headlong. When you rend something, you tear it. That they shall be speechless, and he shall shake them from the foundation, and they shall be utterly laid waste, and be in sorrow, and their memorial shall perish. And this is going into the fate of the wicked. And we'll see this play out, for example, dealing with this, because this is what's going to happen to the Edomites as well, right? Being that they played a role of the ungodly in the Lord's movie. And the way that that's going to look is their kingdom being rent from them going into captivity, and then ultimately them being Obadiah 1 and 18, right? And their memorial perishing. And when they cast up the accounts of their sins, they shall come with fear. And the casting up the accounts of their sins is basically to take record of all of their deeds. So when the time of judgment comes, they're gonna come with fear. Why? Because of all the sins they have committed. And their own iniquities shall convince them to their face. And the word convince is to convict, right? So their own wickedness is going to convict them, right, to their face. Is going to bear witness against them. And that brings us to the end of the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 4th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.